Hello, my name is Miranda Wise, and I'm the writer and producer of the story that you are about to watch. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and share. Okay, so I hope you all enjoyed the show as much as I enjoyed writing it. And take care. I'll see you on the other side. Bye bye. Chapter 1, August 14th, 1981. Norman Preston knew he did not have much time as he and his daughter Patrice pulled into the packed parking lot of Woodson High School in Northeast DC. He had been so busy the entire summer, but he would not miss this festival for anything. The father and daughter hurried into the school and towards the packed auditorium. Why was this day so special? This was the day when all the schools around the area had their festival. Jazz bands, singers, actors, and comedians performed this day. Mayor Marion Barry had implemented the summer job program in DC, and teens had the opportunity to be paid for performing for the city. One jazz band had even performed for the POW MIA event. There were not many seats left when they arrived, so Norman and Patrice stood behind the back row of the auditorium. A jazz band from Ballou High School was in the middle of their jazz piece as a saxophonist hammered their solo. The other instruments joined in soon, and their performance ended. Another group entered the stage and performed a short stage play called Stick to Your Dreams. Norman had hoped he did not miss too much, and that prayer was answered when a trio got up to sing. They called themselves Trilogy of Soul. He was quite impressed with their performance. If you ever want to see have you ever been to the southern part here, especially nowadays? South Carolina, baby, North Carolina, baby, talking about Georgia, talking about Texas. Patrice looked over at her father, seeing the wheels turning in his head. Norman had launched a brand new record company 3 years earlier in 1978. His nieces, First Delegation, were the hottest group in the industry at this point. Patrice wrote down the name of the group and handed it to her father. Two more groups performed before Miss Bradford, one of the top music directors in DC public schools, got up to speak. Ladies and gentlemen, your performances were impeccable, and I look forward to attending this festival each year to hear your talented voices, see your acting, and enjoy these jazz musicians. And as the summer ends, and some of you return to high school, while some of you go off to your chosen college or university, I admonish you to keep pushing and stick to your dreams. I am so grateful and honored to see some of you grow, and you know I have taught some of you yes. And some of you will want to pursue a music career. I have invited Mr. Norman Preston of Preston Records here to see you perform. Mr. Preston, please come up. Norman and Patrice walked down the aisle and headed to the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, all right. I'm also a musician, and I thank y'all for having me here today. I played piano and trumpet, and I understand your passion. I am grateful to Miss Bradford to invite me here to meet some of the city's most talented youth.
He bowed slightly and smiled at Miss Bradford and continued,
Yes, Miss Bradford, so from this point on, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you, Norman. Now, if anyone would like to speak to Mr. Preston, you may do so after we close, but I ask that you make it brief. Mr. Preston is a very busy man, and we want to give everyone a chance to leave their information with him. There was a small table and a chair set up on stage, and students lined up to speak with Norman. When Trilogy of Soul approached, he handed them his business card and asked if they had a manager.
Well, no, not yet, sir. We don't.
Nell spoke up. Norman then took his business card from Nell, wrote down a time and date for them to come to the record company.
Is this an appointment, sir? More like an invite, young man.
Meanwhile, Patrice was also taking names and handing out business cards. Norman specifically wanted Trilogy of Soul and 2 other groups.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Preston.
Mr. Norman. Thank you. The group thanked him, and Nell added,
We'll be there, sir. Thank you. Well, looking forward. Looking forward.
Norman responded. Once Nelson, Cece, and Noki were outside, they jumped up and down excited. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! He gave us a card. Yes. He gave us a card.
A card.
They headed to the bus stop. Each of them had graduated 2 months before that festival. Each of them had decided to work regular jobs. Cece was going to work for the United States Department of Environmental Protection. Noki had planned to work at a daycare facility, and Nelson decided to attend UDC and work part-time at a restaurant in order to pay for school. Each of them were from the Valley Green neighborhood of Mississippi Avenue in Southeast DC, and all had attended Ballou High School. They had grown up poor, having had parents on public assistance, and Nell's father had died of a heroin overdose when he was only 8 years old. They boarded the bus. Nell removed the card Norman had given him and looked at it. Don't you lose that card now. Noki ordered.
Not if my life depended on it.
He looked at the time and date Norman had written on the back of the card. August 18, 1981 at 1 p.m. That was the following Tuesday. They had 3 days to rehearse for the label. Or had they already rehearsed? Norman seemed quite certain that he wanted to give them an opportunity. Do you think he'll sign us? Cece asked, as if she had been reading her friend's mind.
Oh, no. I'm hoping.
Once the bus stopped in their neighborhood, they all hopped off. Nell and Cece headed to the apartment building where they lived, but Noki decided to hop into a green car parked across the street. Cece was curious, so she asked her friend, Noki, where are you going? She knew who was in that car. It was Noki's 22-year-old boyfriend, Michael. I'll be back. So you're not rehearsing today? Stop tripping, see. I said I'll be back. With that, she got into the car and Michael drove off. I hope she stays focused now. Lately, she's been all into Michael.
She'll be back. Don't worry about it.
But Cece wasn't so sure about that. She wanted more than anything to sign on with Preston's label. That was the place to be these days, almost like Gordy's Motown. Talent from all over the country were trying to sign up at Preston, and here the 3 of them were right in the same town as that label. So it would behoove them to take advantage of it. They lived in Southeast. The label was in Northeast, right off Benning Road. A short trip up East Capitol Street would land them right at Preston's front door. Before I close, I would like to dedicate this chapter to Miss Grace Bradford, who was a supervising director of music in D.C. Public Schools during the time I grew up in Washington, D.C. Miss Grace J. Bradford, 1932 to 2020. Thank you, Miss Grace Bradford. Chapter 2. They were signed almost immediately. Days later, they entered the studio and recorded a song called High and Low, a song written by Patrice Preston. A week later, they performed the song in Norman's nightclub in Northwest D.C. and received a great response from the audience. Nell was dressed in a pair of black pants and black shirt, and the girls wore black evening gowns.
Got the keys to the Benz, going out to meet some friends.
I don't care about the weather, I just want to feel much better. If you wanna go with me, you gotta see what I wanna see. Because I'm going high
and going low.
I'm going high
and going low.
I'm going high
and going low. When we get to where we're going, you will hear the horns blowing.
All the people in the street feeling all the summer heat. This is not always easy in the clubs in D.C. But you gotta take it high
or take it low.
Yes! Yes! Give it up for Trilogy of Soul, right here from Washington, D.C. Once the show was over, they headed back to the office where one of Norman's accountants paid them for their performance. They headed to Nell's mother's car. Each of them had received $150 apiece for performing. Wait a minute, just $150? Noki complained.
It's more than what other clubs around here are paying. Besides that, we're still new. Nobody knows us yet.
Nelson said. I just wonder if he only paid his nieces $150 when they performed at that club. Dang! Will you quit complaining, Noki? You know the money ain't gonna come in that fast right now. We're just getting started. And Patrice promised to get us heard on the radio, so we'll start really blowing up then. Okay, well, you know what? I ain't seen or heard of nothing. I ain't heard it's on no radio yet, CC. Will you just give her a chance? Listen, I got bills to pay, y'all. We need groceries, and my mother is behind on her rent. CC looked askance at her bandmate. Nell continued driving without offering any responses. CC knew why Noki's mother was behind on her rent, because she gambled. She was always going to Atlantic City and playing numbers. Noki was the youngest in her family, and after graduating from high school, her mother no longer got public assistance for her. That left Noki having to take on more financial responsibilities. It was almost 1 o'clock in the morning by the time they made it back to their neighborhood. It was early fall, and not many people were out. Each of them went to their apartments, but when CC entered, she noticed the place was ransacked. She called out, "Mama! Mama! Mama!" Her mother was in her bedroom, sitting on the bed, smoking a cigarette, staring at nothing in particular. "Mama! What happened?" Cece knelt before her mother. "Simon and them came by here." Cece closed her eyes. She knew what that meant. She had noticed the TV she had bought her mother was gone. They took the money I had in the drawer, Cecilia. They took my TV, they took my VHS tapes, and my VCR. You didn't pay them? Cecilia, I was waiting on them. Mama, I told you to quit borrowing from that shop. I'm doing the best I can. I don't know what to do. Cece said, wiping her tears. I know, Cecilia, but you got to understand. But nothing, Mama. But nothing. You know, I started this job only 2 months ago. The record company ain't started paying y'all yet? We just had our first show tonight, Mama. I heard Norman pays his artists fairly. So where's the money? Her mother cut in. Cece wondered if her mother thought she was holding out on her. Mama, we just recorded less than 2 weeks ago. We haven't even got no radio play yet. You and Noki's mother are going to have to quit going to Atlantic City, and that's that. Now, wait a minute now. Are you sassing up at me, girl? Her mother's nervousness was gone. She stood faced off with her daughter. No, ma'am. I got to get you out of this neighborhood. Cece changed into a pair of jeans and a blue pullover. She left the apartment and was headed down to Nell's apartment, but she ran into Noki, who was coming up the stairs. It didn't take long for Cece to figure out where she had just come from, hanging out with Michael. It's a little odd to see you leaving the house in the middle of the night, huh? Noki cracked. I gotta get my mother out of here. And you think working for Norman is gonna get you out of here? Child, please. I gotta figure something out, Noki. Noki looked at her and raised an eyebrow and said, I know where we can get some quick cash at, girl. Cece's interest was piqued, but she was just as suspicious. She said, doing what exactly? Oh, you ain't gotta give up nothing. Just do something. Do what? Listen, if you want to stand there and question me and get all chicken on me, then maybe you shouldn't. Image of her ransacked apartment flashed through Cece's mind. Images of her mother's face. Maybe the next time it wouldn't be a television Simon and his boys would take. Perhaps her mother's life would be at stake. Then she said, oh, okay then. Then come on, Noki said as they headed back outside. Her boyfriend's car was sitting in a parking lot with the engine running. Cece wondered what he was still doing out there. They headed to the car and Cece climbed into the back while Noki sat up front with him. Michael looked confused. He said, okay, what's with her? She's coming with me. He turned briefly and looked at Cece and said, okay. He pulled from the parking space and headed out to the place on South Capitol Street that was not far from where they'd attended high school. He got out. The young women followed him and he knocked on the door. An older man opened the door. He looked at the women and said, Michael, what you got here? This is Kitty and this is Bunny. He referred to Noki as Kitty and Cece as Bunny. Cece wondered why this man gave this guy nicknames for them. Well, come on in, girls. Are y'all over 18? That's it. I'm out. Cece turned back towards the door, but Noki grabbed her arm. I said you did not have to give up nothing. You don't believe me? That's okay. Somebody else can make this $3,000. $3,000 sounded just right when Cece thought about how many problems it could solve almost immediately. That could get her and her mother a nice place in Temple Hills, which wasn't far from where they live, but was on the Maryland side, and PG County Police seemed to care more about keeping neighborhoods safe than DC police. Could pay their first month's rent, security deposit, and some new furniture. And with her salary, she was quite sure she could swing that. She swallowed hard. and tried not to think about what they were asked to do and kept her concentration on getting out of the projects. The entire thing took less than 2 hours, but Cece realized once they were in the car, she would not get to keep all that money. Mackail wanted his cut, $500 from each of them. He drove them home. By then, it was almost 5 in the morning. Before exiting the vehicle, Cece had one question for him. Mackail, how often do you do this?
Do what?
This, what we just did, stuff like this. And do you bring different women to that place? She knew that what was happening was an undercover operation.
What's with the third degree? Huh?
He asked while Noki sat silently in the front seat. I'm just asking.
Listen, you don't have to do it no more. Nobody's making you, like nobody made you this time.
But Cece felt coerced, forced by the system, forced by her own mother. What other choice would she have if she wanted to get out of that neighborhood? Yeah, I guess you're right, Mackail.
You ought to be thanking me.
Okay. Noki opened the passenger door and pulled up the seat in order to let her friend out of the car. I'll call you later, C. Okay. Talk to you later, Noki. Cece feels she'd violated herself, and as soon as she reached the apartment, she took a long, hot shower. Thankful they still had hot water. After showering, she could think a little more clearly, but one determination loomed: getting them out of that neighborhood. And she could push the incident earlier out of her mind forever and push forward with her music. Chapter 3. Their first single, High or Low, hit the radio stations in Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Chicago, and New York that fall, and despite all the radio play, it was only charted as 48 on the R&B charts and 32 on the pop charts. Better be high or low, 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 better be high,
Better be high.
better be low, better be high.
No middle ground or no medium.
Better be low.
It gotta be down or
Better be high.
high.
Oh, it better be low.
Low, low,
Better be high.
low,
Oh, it better be low.
low. Well, at least we made the charts, y'all.
Nell said, trying to be as positive as possible. It was now February 1982, and the Grammys were a week ago. We just need to get back into the studio, Cece said as they sat in the lobby just outside the recording room. She glanced at her watch impatiently and said, where in the world is Noki? We're going to be late. You know how they are about time around here. Minutes later, Noki strolled in wearing a pair of jeans, red leg warmers, and an oversized white sweater.
Where you been? You 15 minutes late.
They headed into the studio and recorded. Okay, y'all, I think I can help y'all out here, Patrice said, sitting behind the control board in the studio. There were some things I was analyzing on your last single, and I think I know where to take this. I've got some sounds from our master composer, Dion Davis. She handed them the sheet music for the song, but Nell said,
We haven't even had time to rehearse this.
well, don't you worry about studio time. Not today, you won't. You the only group in this room for today. Just take your time. Cece liked the sound of that. Patrice had more authority in the company than everyone except Norman. Dion came in and took his place behind the control board, and the music began, an up-tempo number called Down and Around. The group recorded. The next thing they knew, they were on their East Coast tour and performed in Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Charlotte, Richmond, and their last stop was in Washington, D.C. at home. I'm going down, 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 and around.
I'm going down.
I'm going down, 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 and around.
I'm going down.
Now, where in the world did this group come from, Brown? Did you see that crowd at the Capitol Center? That place was packed.
Jenna J said the morning after they completed their tour.
Listen to this. Norman be turning out some great artists. When he got Midnight Velvet on his label, I knew this man was blowing it out. I know. I couldn't get that song out of my head for hours. Down, 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 and around. Yeah, that is catchy. And CeCe with that little sexy voice. You hear that little sexy voice? Oh, you better be careful, boy. Ralph, Cheryl gonna come in here and knock you upside your head. Cheryl know who the boss is in my house. You keep on talking, turkey. Yeah, but you know what? I really enjoyed myself last night. I got to meet the group. And I'm going to tell you something. They are a really cool trio. Especially that Nail. He is funny. And you don't meet too many of them, you know.
Tell CeCe to rap for me, baby. Cause CeCe rap like a lady. Hey, C-No. Take it away.
Won't see me around, nowhere to be found, not a wedding gown, it'll make me frown, I know you're bound to love my sound.
That sounded good, well understood. We're from the hood of Valley Green, the three of us, we share a team. Come on, no key.
Hey, Mr. Nail, did you ring my bell?
I did.
You know it's right, we're out of sight, a big delight. I'm going down, 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 and around. I'm going down, down. CeCe was at home when she got the news. The doorbell rang. No-Key stood on the other side. Hey, No-Key, what's wrong? CeCe asked when her friend came right in and was looking worried. See, please don't tell Norman, but I'm pregnant. CeCe could not believe it. They were almost done with their album, and she gets hit with this? She knew there was no way No-Key could tour in that condition. No-Key, no. CeCe closed her eyes momentarily. Are you serious? Not now. I know. I can hide it though. Not for long. Besides, Yolanda and Cartier just had babies. She was speaking of Norman's nieces who belonged to the hottest group, First Delegation. And they're still out there performing, CeCe, so don't you tell me I can't do this. But we're not them. They got plenty of help. Didn't you notice? They already made it. Wonder what Nell is going to say about this. Don't you dare tell him. CeCe looked the other way, away from her friend. CeCe, please, please. Okay, I'll let you tell him. That news dropped right to CeCe's gut. As soon as her friend left, she got into her car and drove up to the studio. Sometimes she liked to hang out there just for the association. She had been getting to know Yolanda and her sisters. Tawanda was pretty cool. Nikki, the rapper, was also cool. And she and Nikki were getting really acquainted. She hoped to run into her Instead, she ran into Johnny Hutchinson, who handled management for many of the groups. Plenty of the groups had gotten exposure due to Johnny. Cece was at the piano, just pressing keys, just thinking about how things were turning out. They had not even released their entire album yet.
It can be that way sometimes.
Cece turned around at the bass voice behind her. There he stood, looking like he was the winner of the biggest Bama contest there ever was. He usually wore loud colors. What do you mean? Johnny sat across from her in one of the chairs and crossed his narrow legs.
What I mean is, one of your band members is messing up, huh?
She wondered how in the world did he know that?
You don't have to say anything, but I know her kind. And Norman is not going to do anything about it because he got so much backlash from sending Tessa on her way.
Cece knew Tessa had been removed from first delegation and Tawanda, the other sister, took her place.
Norman is soft,
Johnny said. Cece wondered why Johnny was talking about Norman that way. She thought they were friends, but it seemed after Johnny married Cartier, they didn't seem that close anymore. Maybe Norman did not agree with someone Johnny's age marrying Cartier, who was only about 20 or 21 by then. Johnny was probably around 40. He leaned in closer to her and said,
"Listen, I'm about to launch my own label. If you want to go solo, give me a call."
The thought of going solo did sound appealing, but she was more dedicated to the music than Noki and Nell were, although Nell was nowhere near as bad as Noki. She recalled a time when she had to overlay her vocals on one of the tracks just to make up for the absent voice because Noki did not show up for recording. He proffered his card to her with his phone number on it. She took it, placed it in her purse.
You're too talented and pretty to be sabotaged by your own group members.
What she could not get out of her mind was that his admission to leave Preston's label and launch his own. She wondered if Norman knew about it. As if he was reading her mind, he said,
"You can keep this conversation between us."
Afterwards, he got up and left, taking the elevator. Later, when Nell stopped over to go over music with her, she told him what Johnny Hutchinson had said. Yeah, but don't get involved with that, C. Stay out of it. I wasn't planning on getting involved in it or saying anything. I'm just telling you. Yeah, because I heard about a few things that's going on with Johnny and Norman, and I think it has to do with Cartier. Yeah, well, that's obvious. Whatever the case, we need to stick with Norman. You ain't gonna find another label owner out there like him. Johnny might go out on his own, but he'll never be able to compete with Norman. We need to get this last song done to get our album out there.